welcome back to another episode of Over the Glass. I am your host, Jay.
And I'm Nessa. Today we have Luisa, who we've met through Hockey of Tomorrow. You are a writer, right, for the platform. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know how you got into hockey and what team you follow?
Hi guys, I'm Luisa. I got into hockey mainly from books because I'm from Brazil. So I started reading books in the pandemic, and some friends of mine were like, "Okay, come on, let's watch a game." And I started watching through the 2020 World Juniors, men's World Juniors, and then I completely fell in love, and I started watching the bubble playoff hockey, and everything started to happen, and I was like, okay, yeah, I really like this, and I understand it, which was the best part because here in Brazil it's soccer that is very common. So I never understood soccer, even though it's like very simple. Everyone tells me it's so simple, and I'm like, nope, I cannot understand, and it's so boring. I'm sorry to soccer fans. Um, so I started watching hockey, and it was so fast, and everything happened, and I could understand it. I was like, okay, I can get behind this. So yeah, that's the story.
Can you walk us through that experience of did you find a book at the bookstore one day, or what was that journey to discovering hockey through literature?
I have always been a reader, like my entire life. I am a literature major in college, so I have always been a reader, and I've always had so many reader friends, and everyone was like reading these books, the off-campus books, and they were like, "Oh, it's sports books." I'm like, "Okay, but what's the lore?" And then they told me, and I was like, "Okay, so I'm gonna read it." And then I read it, and I was like, "Okay, but on off campus is like totally in the background. Hockey's totally in the background." And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, "Okay, so I'm gonna watch a few like fan cams and all of that." And Matt Barzal was like the hockey Twitter book um, guy back then, and I was like, okay, so this is what's happening. And then I went after more stories and more books, and then I got into Tumblr, which is like a downhill when you get into Tumblr. And yeah, it all started with off campus, and then I had this dream because I'm a writer too. Like I write. Like I started writing fan fictions, and then I started writing books, and I had this dream, and I was like, okay, this can become a book. So I started researching deeper because I wanted to write my own book. And I was like, okay. So it all started with off campus, but then everything started happening. And then I was like completely inserted in everything. And I was like, okay, that's cool.
So, was the Matt Barzal fan cam why you decided to follow the Islanders?
Um, yes and no, because I started watching like hockey through the World Juniors. So then I like completely fell in love with the Canada team that won the gold medal that year. And I started following like Dylan Cousins and Bo Byram. And Dylan was drafted by the Sabres in 2019. So I started watching the Sabres. And then I watched one of their games against the Islanders, and I was like, okay, they like they look so good on the ice, even though they are a hot mess, and a very boring team according to everyone else. I fell in love with the way they play, so it was less about him and more about like watching them and like making my heart beat faster. And I was like, okay, this might be my team. And then I started watching, and then playoff bubble started happened, and I started really watching them, and I was like, okay, yes, this is my team. And yeah, so, and that's something I tell everyone that comes to me, and they're like, how do I pick a team? And I'm like, just watch the games and see what team will make your heart beat faster, because that's probably going to be the one, you know. But
For
yeah.
sure.
that's how it all happened.
Yeah, we know a thing or two about seeing a team be a hot mess out on the ice, but you still love them, and I do agree with what you said. And when someone asks you like, oh, who should you follow? I mean, obviously, I would probably prefer someone follow the Sharks, but like in my experience of picking a team, you just kind of have to it'll come to you. There'll be a team that, whether it's the personalities on the roster, or maybe like you like the colors or just something, like I think that's part of the fandom aspect of it as well. I mean, yeah, you could, if your whole drive is obviously for a team to be winning, that's a whole nother thing too, right? But I think for me, the whole package has always been the drive for me. um, I think you definitely, when you become a hardcore fan, it's you fall in love with just every aspect of the team and the game.
Yeah, and it is such a crazy thing because my family is really into soccer. Like
Mm-hmm.
we sit down every Sunday to watch the team play and all of that, and everyone is so passionate. Like Brazilians, Latinos in general, but Brazilians are very passionate about their soccer, and thank God we're not doing this later because I don't know if there's a game today. I know that there was a game yesterday, and the house just becomes like so loud. It feels like it almost feels like you are inside the game because I have two younger brothers and they're so passionate and they yell and they scream. So every time that I watch a hockey game and I see how that happens, and because they play inside of an arena, it is so much louder because when you are in a stadium, like the sound kind of like escapes, but when you are inside of an arena, it's like so loud. And every time I would watch the Islanders, I could like hear the fans inside the arena, and even the Coliseum, which was a lot smaller than UBS now, and they were so loud and so passionate, and all over social media they have always been so passionate. And the fan base here, I don't know if you guys have seen, but the New York Islanders Brazil page is very active, and it's one of the biggest fan bases here, and everyone is like very close. Yeah, I know, right? That's the reaction that everyone gives me whenever I tell them that. It's the Bruins and the Islanders, and it's crazy. Everyone is so close, and I feel like um, it makes this environment so much better to be a part of, because when you have like smaller fan bases here, because it's such a small sport here, you don't get that idea of being a part of a family. So being a part of the Islanders fan base here is a whole other level, and it's super nice. Yeah.
Have you had the opportunity to come out and watch them for a game yet?
Not yet. I tried to get my visa last year, but I was denied, so that broke my heart because I was supposed to go by the end of this year. Like I had all these plans and everything, and then I went to the embassy and they were like, "Sorry, at this time we cannot give you the visa." And I was like, "Oh, oh no!" So I have not, but hopefully, I'm graduating by the end of the year, and I'm gonna try to get a student visa, either to Canada or the US, and hopefully I'll be able to see a game at some point. So, yeah.
Getting a visa to Canada is a whole lot easier than getting one for the
Yeah, I
US.
know.
So,
Yeah.
just so you know.
Yeah. That's what everyone tells me, and but my boyfriend is American. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try to go there to see him. And I think that's the main reason why they said no. They were like, you're going to stay there, you know.
Um,
Yeah, but so I'm going to try to Canada at the end of the year because it's expensive. So I will try, and hopefully I'll get to see, even if it's like the Maple Leafs, I'll go to a hockey game. Sorry
I
to
hear those are
listen.
some of the most expensive games to go to though. So,
Yeah, they are. They're so expensive. But Yeah, you go where you can when you're in this
Go across
situation.
go across the street to watch the Sabres.
Yeah.
I
The
mean, it's
Sabres
very
are so
close
much.
by. It's probably like a couple hours drive. So,
Yeah. It's
that's a
yeah.
lot closer than where you are right now.
Oh, a lot closer. Oh my god. So much closer. So it is like a whole experience. And that's the first article that I wrote about for Hockey of Tomorrow. It was about how like it feels so lonely to be a hockey fan here because we're so far away from there. And I know there are fans all around the world, and I know there are fans in Argentina. I'm trying to reach out to them to make the second part of the article. In Argentina is even worse than where I am because it's like at the tip of the continent, so they're super far. I'm at least in the middle of the country, um, and it's isolating and it's expensive, and there's this whole experience, and the NHL doesn't try to reach out to us. The New York Islanders, Brazil, they're very lucky because the Isles always do like are always sending things to them, and I don't even know if I could say this, but they just sent like a huge box of products, of shirts, of those little the wiggly heads. I don't know how they're called.
Bobbleheads.
Bobbleheads, yes. And they like are always in contact with them. I know that the Sharks are always in contact with the Sharks Brazil, the page here. So like smaller, not smaller teams, but like smaller fan bases get the attention, and that's super nice. But the big league don't see us, and we're like, hey, hi.
Yeah. They do like the World Series type games, the Sharks were a part of when they went to go play in Czech Republic, I think. And I wish that they would actually do some down in like Latin America, South America, because you guys, nothing ever happens down there. No one ever goes. I mean, to start off, maybe Mexico because it's nearby and, it'd be easier to grow the game from there. But it seems like when the league talks about growing the game, they go to spots where there's already hockey. And it's like, but are you really growing the game?
Yeah. Is that really the way?
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah. And it's like I didn't know this. I only got to that information when I really started to dig deeper. But we have a women's I can't remember if they're roller hockey or if they're ice hockey. But we have like Mulheres no Hockey, that is women in hockey. That is like a team here. I think they're from Rio or Sao Paulo, and they play like they do small tournaments, and they like are growing the game here, and it's so different because usually the platform is all male dominant, and we have like this platform that is women's hockey, so that's super nice. And we have like, even in Brazil, that is an extremely tropical country, in the south we have really cold weather in July. So that would be the perfect time to do like an exhibition game, for example. So just saying, NHL, just putting it out there if you ever want to. Like we do have cold weather too. That's your word.
All the NHL people that listen to this podcast get on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even like here in the States, we have, in California, Florida, where it's warm like most of the year. It's doable.
Yeah.
It's more so that they don't want to put the effort in.
Yeah. And
I
it's
mean,
super
we had
fun.
that stadium series a while back, and it's like we don't get any lower than maybe like mid 40s during our quote unquote winter. So, but yeah, it's like what Nessa said. They probably don't see it as profitable. But that's, if you truly want to grow the game, you should be going to these places that obviously have these fans and could really benefit from the exposure of it, to really the investment from such a top league that obviously has a ton of money, but as capitalism works, they how much are they actually trying to, you know, walk the walk of what they're saying with inclusivity and diversity and all that stuff, when at the end of the day it's like we do know that you're still a business, and you see this all, as profit.
Yeah.
Which I think that's silly because growing up as a Latina and knowing many Latinos, Latinx people, we as a, like, and I'm being very general here, we as a people like to spend money.
Yeah.
And like when we cling on to something, a lot of that money goes into that, whatever sports team or whatever it is. Like, very passionate people. And so this is why it's so frustrating to see like the NHL doesn't reach out. It's like they, for a business perspective, they are missing an opportunity because it can be profitable. They just
Yeah.
don't do it.
And it's like I said a few moments ago, like we're so passionate about sports, like any sport. If you the NFL is bringing, I don't know if it's this year or next year or if it already happened. I don't follow the NFL whatsoever, but they are doing a game here. Like they're doing a game here, and we have official NFL merch. We have official NBA merch here as well, and it sells so much, like so much, and it's expensive. We're a country
Mm-hmm.
that is going through like an economical crisis that is so big due to the pandemic, the former president, and all of that. But people buy that stuff. We're constantly spending money. Our jerseys, even for the local soccer teams, they're like 200 highs, which would be converting to dollars, it would be like $40. But if you put like one on one, that would be like $200, which is the price of a jersey normally. So we spend money with that type of thing. We like to support our teams. We like to have things from our teams. I am so lucky that I have a partner who could like give me jerseys and give me products from the teams and players that I like. But otherwise, I was looking at purchasing a jersey from the NHL, and I was like, okay, that's a lot of money, but I'm willing to pay for it because I want to have that merch. I want to have my favorite players' jersey so I can wear, even though it's always hot here and jerseys are almost impossible to wear. I want to have that, you know. So it's that mindset of, I don't even know, but yeah, Nessa, you put it perfectly. Like it would sell. Just come, just try. It would happen. Just market it, and we will take it because we're passionate about sports. We love it. We love practicing. We love watching, and yeah, it would work. Uh, it's so frustrating. Renting here, like
I know.
there's a huge rent. Yeah.
Speaking of frustrating, how do you feel about how the Islanders did during the playoffs?
Oh God, don't even tell me about that. The day that I got eliminated, I was so tired that I fell asleep. I didn't even watch the game. Like I fell asleep super early, and I woke up around like 4 a.m. and I woke up to so many messages on my phone. And when I opened, it was like the Islanders got eliminated, and I was like, oh God, why? And the Hurricanes fans, I'm sorry to Hurricanes fans, but they were being such a pain all series long, like attacking everyone and being a pain, and like telling Sydney Martin. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Sydney Martin is Matt Martin's wife, and she's super active on Twitter during the playoffs and all of that. And she was like chirping everyone, like she always does. She's the daughter of a huge hockey player as well, and all of that. And he is in the sports community, like her entire family is in the sports community. And she was just chirping and messing around on Twitter, and people started like getting really happy at her, like really bad stuff at her. And we were like, what is wrong with you? Like, they put out their address, their place's address. So I was like, what is wrong with these people? It's just chirping. Don't take it that seriously. It's just sports. And they were being such a pain. And when it was over, I was like, okay, it was gonna be over either way. But I'm glad that just like we're not gonna suffer with them anymore because it was so bad and I was so tired. But I was so frustrated. Like it was so hard to get there, and then we don't even get to Game 7, and uh, I watched that entire series. Like, what are you guys doing? Why are you not playing good again? So yeah. And we got
Yeah,
washed
playoffs.
from, and yeah, and Barzal was probably still hurt from his injury in the end of the season. And so many things happen in the playoffs, and so many players play through injuries, which I think is just dumb. But yeah, I just woke up and I got the text, and then I went back to sleep and followed with my life because I didn't want to talk about it at that time. No, thank you. I'm okay. Oh
Yeah, it's
god.
been a few years since we've experienced playoffs with the Sharks, but just from the few times they've gone since I've started following them, it's a very frustrating time of year because obviously you're into it. You're like you want your team to win, and you start hating this other team because it's like why are you getting in the way? And then the fans take it way too seriously, and these messages that they send online, it's like it's so unnecessary.
Yeah.
Oh, kind of glad I don't have to deal with that right now.
Kind of glad they're bad right now. I don't have the mental health for that. Yeah, I stopped being online on Twitter because of that. Like people just take things way too far. And I just look at it. I use Twitter mainly because I have to write about things. I work for another website. So I just keep up with the news, but my Twitter is mainly to talk about Taylor Swift and my boyfriend. That's it. Those are the main topics. Hockey is like secondary because people annoy me so much, and I'm the type of person that I cannot deal. So I just look at it and I'm like block, silent button. I do not have time to deal with you. Bye. I just yeah. So my Twitter is just like people from, to be really honest, people from Hockey of Tomorrow, my closest friends, and the journalists. That's it. There's nobody else. Everyone else is silenced because people are insane on Twitter. They're just crazy. And sometimes it's not even the way they are, but Twitter has a little bad dust that it puts around people, and people go kind of cool. And yeah.
Little bad dust.
Yeah. Not good, not good.
So, realistically speaking, do you feel that the Islanders could have made it all the way? Or do you think that they have a little more things that they need to work on? Because I know your goalie is insane, but other than that,
Yeah.
I'm not too familiar with the rest of the roster.
Honestly, I was sure that they weren't gonna make out of the first round. I think that's the main reason why I didn't get like super upset. But my boyfriend was sure that they were gonna make it. They were gonna eliminate Carolina, and we like took a bet with each other. And I was like, they're not gonna make it. Like, yes, they are. And I won, obviously. And I was like, yeah, I told you, I know my team. And I think that they have to change the mentality because every end of the season, they're always, oh, we have a really good group here. We have a really close group. And I love that for them. It's amazing that they have a close group, that they feel like a family. But that's family doesn't win Stanley Cups. That's awful, but it doesn't. And bringing people in with, okay, sometimes they're team friendly deals because unfortunately hockey is money, and money is what makes a team. Team friendly deals, but they're not the players that we need. And that's what puts us in such a bad place. And then they brought in Bo Horvat, and that was great. Like, he's a great player. I'm not arguing against that. But they gave him such a gigantic contract that I don't know how that's going to work. And then they traded off our only prospect in Ratu for him. And that was such a what are you doing move, because we don't have prospects, we don't have anybody in Bridgeport, we have an amazing goalie, but we don't have anybody to back him off because Varlamov's contract is expired. So what are you doing? What is the move here? You're trading away our draft picks. We have nothing. We have nothing. So are you going to start trading players? Are you going to start drafting players? Nobody knows. It's just like our GM is like silent all the time, and that is infuriating because you never see what's coming. You never know. And then you sit down and you're like, okay, so this is the player that they could trade. This is the player that someone would probably want. Because when you look at the Islanders roster and you look at the players that could be traded, they're not that they wouldn't have the trade value that is good enough to make our team better. And I hate talking about this about players because it is such like a messed up way to look at things. But unfortunately, it's how the game works. And then you have players who have gigantic contracts. I'm with country in the head. I'm so sorry. Gigantic contracts. Dear God. I'm sorry, you guys. Like Josh Bailey, Anders Lee, and God only knows who else. And they have contracts that will only expire 2 seasons from now, 3 seasons from now. And they're players that are not producing anything anymore. They're not there. Like, Anders still is, but Josh Bailey, he's like, where are you? Sometimes he does things, sometimes he doesn't do anything. And he's always in the trade talks, but nobody does anything with him. And we're like, okay, so there's nothing we can do. We don't know what to do. We don't know who won. Because the Islanders, I think they're the only team in the entire league that you hear, like, rumors and everything's wrong. Everything's always wrong. Nothing ever happens. Nothing that's in the rumors ever happens. So, yeah, it's frustrating. It's such a frustrating team to be a fan of because you never know. I think that so many things have to change, but I don't know what we can do to change them. So, yeah.
The good news is that it's not you're not the only team that goes through these frustrations.
Yeah.
A lot of teams go through it, so you're not alone in that. Have you been, by chance, keeping up with the rest of the playoffs?
Kinda, but I just want to rest a little bit, because this season was so insane. We had so many off ice things happening, and I think it burned me out a little bit. So I barely watched any games this season. I was just like reading articles and reading things about the teams that I have to cover. And I mainly watched the Sabres because I write about them for the other website I work for. And I watch the Islanders sometimes, but it was such a season that I was like, I don't want to have anything to do with all this mess, with the Hockey Canada thing, the Blackhawks thing that was still going on, and then the Rangers trading for Patrick Kane. Even though the Rangers are my complete rival, I was so frustrated because why? Why? But anyways, that for these playoffs, I watched the Islanders got eliminated, I watched the Avs got eliminated, and I was like, I'm done. Bye. There's nothing for me here anymore. I sometimes watch the Leafs because my boyfriend is a Leafs fan, but mainly for the entire thing, will they make it out of the second round? But otherwise, I'm just like, I need a break. I don't want to look at them anymore.
I've also haven't been keeping too much. I haven't been into the playoffs this year as I have been last year, and I think part of what you're talking about plays into it as well, because it was such a disappointing season off ice that it's like it's kind of hard to get into hockey the same way after everything. But I don't know. We kind of just wanted to talk about some highlights through what we've seen so far. Um, been like, the reason I have this this jersey
Yeah.
up right now. So Pavelski's Dallas. This actually is a game worn from the bubble year
Oh,
when they
that's so
went to
nice.
the yeah. My girlfriend collects game worns, but yeah, he had an insane game. When was it? Tuesday or something? I can't
Yeah,
remember what day.
the one he had like
Something like
4 goals.
4 goals in his first game back after the injury in the first game of the playoffs,
Yeah.
which is insane. Only for the next day to Draisaitl do the same thing, And
And
like these are
everyone
games
talked
I'm
about it.
not. Yeah. Like and these are games I'm not exactly watching because I have so much going on. But I'm like trying to keep up with the scores and like I check Twitter so often and everyone's like freaking out that all this is happening. So it seems like it's been a very exciting playoffs. And so I don't know if you have some time to like peek in every so often. I'm
Yeah.
sure you'll catch something
I
exciting.
I do have to pay attention to those parts because the work that I do here in Brazil, I have like a portal with my friends. It's like a voluntary work. We do like we cover games. We post about the results, the games of the day. We post news. So I end up following up with the playoffs. I'm just not watching, but I know what's happening. So sometimes I'm just don't want to watch, but I'm paying attention. And sometimes I watch through Twitter as well because seeing everyone react to what's happening. Yesterday,
Sometimes that's more fun for me than
yeah,
actually watching the game. Like if I'm not that into the teams, it's kind of more entertaining to watch the fans react to it.
yeah,
And you forgot to mention both those games scored 4 goals, still lost.
Oh yeah.
Like if I were the fan of that team, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that because
yeah,
I mean I mostly watched the Stars one and then I just saw later like oh Draisaitl did the same thing and the Oilers still lost, but with the Stars it was just like Nessa said, Pavelski, obviously that awful hit by Dumba that didn't get properly reviewed by Department of Player Safety, and managed to come back in the second round, first game after being you know concussed from the previous round, scores 4 freaking goals, and I'm hoping at that point, I'm not a Stars fan, but I'm like, I kind of want them to win it because that's insane. Obviously, because Pavelski is formerly drafted by the Sharks, but in that moment, I'm like, okay, I think I'm kind of rooting for the Stars, and then they couldn't show up for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
I was torn. Well, first of all, I've made the joke because Pavelski has been concussed how many times? The same thing happened in 2019 when he was his last year with the Sharks. Anytime he gets concussed, he comes back better than before, and I don't get it. Like what they're scrambling his brain, but he's playing insane.
Realigning it.
yeah,
But yeah, that series specifically, sorry, I just wanted to say like I'm rooting for Pavelski obviously because he was a Sharks. He was a Shark once upon a time. Jason Robertson, also an insane player, but I kind of want the Kraken to win because like I follow the Kraken more than the Stars. So like between the Avs and the Kraken, I was torn between them because I like both teams. I was going to be happy either way. And since the Kraken moved on, it was like, okay, I wonder how they'll show up against the Stars because the Stars, they didn't have the injury problems the Avs did. So I don't
yeah.
know. We'll see how that goes. But go ahead, Jay.
I do
Sorry.
want to note Nate's comment in our Discord where he said that the NHL is inventing teams what was it, to prevent Pavelski from
From
moving on. What was it?
yeah, because Vegas, I think, and then the Kraken. I don't remember. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So
Yeah,
I
I thought that was hilarious.
I think it was Vegas in 2020 that took them to Game 7 when he was already on the team.
I think that was 2018,
Yeah, back then
right?
as well.
Yeah.
So Vegas is always there trying to keep him out. They didn't succeed in 2020, but oh well. But Pavelski is a player that really amazes me because he is getting older, but that doesn't stop him. Like
yeah.
he's always there for the team, and he
He just
truly
has that
amazes me.
high hockey IQ. He's got his
Yeah,
unique style of play. And I mean, I know that nowadays, with the Jack Hughes and with the upcoming Connor Bedard, I mean, yeah, they're smaller, compact. Like we're leaning more towards the skill set, not so much the big guys who are gonna deliver the biggest hits. And Pavelski has never been the fastest player, but he just understands the game so well that he doesn't necessarily need the speed. He doesn't need the physicality. And it's just really nice to see that despite the conversations around, the teams that need like, we're still trying to hang on to the whole enforcer era, which I'm just like, I'm tired and over it. You've got like the Reeves, and you've got, I mean, Tom Wilson hasn't really been in the news. The old hockey mentality, they're still trying to hang on to this like hyper physicality of the game, and obviously keep checking in the sport. But we're at the end of the day, I fell in love with the skill set of the game. It's just so unique in comparison to all these other sports. And so yeah, to have someone like Pavelski still striving in like what we would consider like old man territory in this sport, I do kind of hope that the Stars pull it out, but we'll see.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't know if you can compare Pavelski now at 38 to like Jumbo or Marlowe at 38. There is such a like vast contrast in the way they're playing, because those two other dudes, like, they did so much in their younger years with their points and whatever, scoring, assists, but like as they're getting older they start slowing down a lot, and you start to see it a lot more than you see it in Pavelski, which is really interesting to see, and also really heartbreaking as a Sharks fan. It's like, why couldn't you keep him?
we
I don't think
needed
we'd be
him.
in this mess if he stayed.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyways,
He
on the topic of enforcers, do you want to talk a little bit about the Truba hit on Timo?
Did you happen to see that hit that Truba delivered on Timo
Yeah,
Meyer a couple of games ago?
and I totally regretted watching that because it was nasty. It was so bad.
It's just I don't see how anybody watch, and who I'm talking about, these people who go on Twitter and are just like, well, it was a clean hit. Like I don't know how, like, legally, yes, in the rule book, this is a legal hit. A clean hit, like, yeah, cleanly taking his head off. I mean,
Yeah,
what's your definition of clean hit?
made
And
him bleed
I mean,
and get stitches on his nose. That's not very
and
clean
they
for
still
me.
brought him back in the third, and then he ended up not playing in the following game because his head was probably scrambled. And but just I have very little trust in. I know we have like our concussion protocol, and they always tell us about things to make us feel better about like player safety and blah blah blah. I still don't trust it.
Yeah,
Like, I don't see how someone gets he if you I just happened to watch the replay just because once it goes viral on Twitter, it's basically like every other tweet that you see on your feed. And I just happened to see the video where Trouba gets on the ice, sees Timo, he's coming into his zone, he's got two Rangers already around him. Like, to me, I feel like he's good. They're taking care of him. You see your way out of this conversation, and he's like
I'm gonna
my
go.
objective is to knock you out. And he just, you know, starts ramping up, and he no, I can't see any possibility that he was thinking, I'm gonna play the puck. No, I'm going to knock you into the next universe. And that's exactly what he did. And people going on about like, oh, Timo should keep his head up, or like, oh, that's just part of the game, blah blah blah. Like, I just don't know how you advocate for that, because I think I saw some folks debating about, you know, if that were to happen with like an Austin Matthews, like a Connor Bedard, like, I mean, a Connor Bedard, Connor McDavid, too many Connors in this league. They should ban that name for any like future hockey. Like, if they come in and they're like a generational player, you have to change your name. There's too many Connors in this league already. But like, if that were to happen to a player like that, I mean, you even saw with the Cale Makar suspension. Obviously, that came into play with him being a star player. Like, oh, we can't possibly give him as many games as they did with Michael Bunting. Like, no matter how much you tell us that, well, it's part of the rules, that's how we're going to play the game. No, there's obviously a subjective decision making happening here. And if that were an Austin Matthews or a Connor McDavid, I feel like there would be some kind of conversation heading in a direction of reconsidering how we evaluate these hits. But since it's Timo, and to, you know, from Shark's perspective, like, he's a very talented, like, superstar player, but not at the NHL level per se in comparison to those other players. But I just thought it definitely took me out of the game. I stopped watching the game because I'm just like, I don't understand how he gets nothing. And we go, well, that was a hit, that was clean, let's move on.
Yeah, the way I see it is like people who are debating about it. It's like, how come anytime a player lifts his stick into someone's face, it's pretty much always a penalty because he is held accountable. Like, you have to be in control of your stick. Why don't those same rules apply to when you use your whole body to injure another player? It
Which is
doesn't
even
matter,
worse
like,
than a stick, right?
right. It's like, and to me, like, it shouldn't matter what the intent was. It should be the outcome that plays into it. Because a lot of times, guys don't mean to hit the other dude with their sticks, right? But they still get penalized because it happened. You know, why doesn't the same thing happen when someone like Truba crunches Timo's neck like a soda can, breaks his nose almost, and then why is there no consequences to that? Makes no sense to me.
Yeah. And concussions are such a sensitive topic for me because one of my dear friends, he played hockey for a while, and he got a concussion that was so serious that he just, like, he had to stop completely, and he was super young. And one of my favorite players, Bowen Byron from the Avs, he stayed out his entire rookie year basically because of a concussion that was not treated correctly the first time, got worse. He got COVID, got worse, and then he came back, got hit again, got worse. So it's, and he was 21, 20 at the time. And those rules are, they should be reviewed because that's not something that's supposed to be happening. Players should not have to stay out for an entire year because they got hit in a way that is considered clean, and that's why people do it.
Yeah.
Like, if it's an accident, okay, that happens. But in ways that are so clearly that it was kind of intentional, that should not happen. That should not happen.
No, and another thing, like with the league specifically, and like within the players, they seem to not take it as seriously because, you know, the player wants to get back out on the ice as soon as possible. And I remember when I went to the Avs Kraken game a couple weeks ago now for the game 5, they were playing like this clip before the game about Eric Johnson and what he went through before he came back to the Avs and they won the cup last year, right? And it felt like a celebration of him overcoming this concussion that, you know, he went to the doctor for, and the doctor pretty much told him, you need to stop playing. You have the brain of a 50-year-old man. He's like 30 something. And he's like, yeah, it really scared me. And I had to consider whether to call it quits or not. But instead, what does he do? He comes back to the team to play. And then now what? Like, what is hockey? What is his life going to look like after hockey? And this is like things that I don't think the players truly understand until they start living their after hockey years. So,
And in 2020, I think it was TSN released a small documentary. I think it was 30 minutes, not even an hour, about the effects of one of the painkillers that they use in the league. And that messed me up so bad because I was like, how are people letting that happen? Like,
yeah. Ever since that came out too, it's like you see a player get hurt on the ice and then like, oh, he's back out there, his shift. This dude is tough as nails. He blah blah blah. What a warrior.
Oh,
And
he's
it's
a
like,
hockey player.
yeah, and it's like, are you sure he's not just like he's not drugged up right now and he doesn't feel any pain? Like, how do I know he's really okay or if he's just super drugged up?
yeah.
It's so messed up.
And those things
I mean, it's also culturally, the whole hockey culture where they kind of just grow up with this mentality and there's nobody telling them, like, no, you need to stop. So it's like, I just feel like someone needs to step up. There's somebody who needs to step out of the, with like a lot of things that we talk about on this podcast, like someone needs to be the person who is in a position of power to say no, we're gonna change the narrative around this. We're not gonna put the guy out there. I mean, I think not knowing too much about how the Stars handled the Pavelski thing, I think they handled it well. Like just like how I felt the Sharks handled it when he had a similar incident where he knocked his head. Like they don't need you to bring him in. They need you to actually treat the player and make sure he can safely get back on the ice. Whether or not like that was adequate enough amount of time, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I can't say, but it seemed like in comparison to what we've seen in past years or maybe in like some recent events that I can't recall, like in that respect, I feel like at the team level, they're probably doing a good job or at least a better job than we've seen in previous years, but there's still so much more work to be done. And like another thing that happened just the other day, I thought in the first round the officiating was doing really well to like break up fights, to like to keep the game moving. But in the game against Vegas and the Oilers, they let freaking Kane like beat the crap out of Colasar, and he was already down on the ice. Which like, I feel like at that moment, don't the refs usually like blow it dead? Like they let them have like their scrum, but once they hit the ice, it's like, okay, break it up, guys. Blah blah. But he was just like pounding, left and right into the ice, and the ref were just like, yep, that's happening.
Yeah.
Until maybe they realize, oh, that's my job. That's me. I'm the one wearing the zebra stripes. I'm supposed to do something about this. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just these aspects of it that make it frustrating to watch the game. And yet I feel like we still stick to watching it because we're hoping that it'll get better.
Yeah. And it's something I talk a lot about with my friends on our podcast, that we're seeing very baby steps, but they're kind of happening, and that keeps our hopes up that keeps us like, it's at some point we're gonna get there, even if we're not even here anymore to see it. Like at some point they're gonna get it, and at some point it's gonna get better. So I think that when we look back at how the game was a few decades ago and look at how it is now, it is already a lot better, but there is a long way to go. And the reason why I don't give up personally is because someone needs to keep it going. Like someone needs to keep questioning. Someone needs to keep asking the hard questions, bringing the other perspectives, bringing the difficult subjects that the average hockey fan will not bring up. So if I need to be a part of that group, if I need to put myself in this incredibly hard position, because it is not easy to be always fighting against people. It's not easy, not even in hockey only, like in life. It's so hard to be an advocate, it's so hard to be an activist. But if I'm the person who needs to be there keeping it alive, then I'm gonna make that choice for myself and for the future people who will look back and think, okay, so she's a Brazilian girl who was always talking about the lack of representation of our country inside a league that we love so much, and she helped us get there. So that's like, it's the future. I think about it so much. When I was younger, I used to see like this post on feminist pages that were like, we're not fighting only for ourselves, we're fighting for the future us. So that stuck with me, and every time that I think I cannot do this anymore, I think about that phrase. I'm not fighting only for myself, I'm fighting for the future me who's gonna be there, working in the NHL, working for a team and growing the game. So yeah, it's sad, but it is what it is. No one is gonna do it, so let's do it.
On a lighter note, have you been keeping up on the Ottawa Senators and like the ownership stuff?
That's my favorite hockey topic of the moment. That's my favorite thing that has been happening the past week and a half. Like when we got Ryan Reynolds and the whole bid, and he was starting to get so active, and that was back last year when the rumors starting to come up that they were going to sell him. He became so active. I was like, that's going to grow the game. If he buys the team, he's going to grow the game. Because if there's one thing that Ryan Reynolds knows how to do, that's marketing things that he loves. And he's going to grow the game so much. And then Snoop Dogg came. And I was like, that's going to be really freaking awesome because he's such a guy. And then The Weeknd came out of nowhere. What happened? Like, what happened? I was like, this is such a great thing. Because I wrote a piece for Hockey of Tomorrow about 4 Hollywood stars that were hockey fans and not everyone knew. And I was like, this is great. Give me more. Because if there is one thing that really clashes, is pop and music culture fan bases and sports fan bases. They're the same. Like they're the same. Like if I go to a concert of my favorite artist and I'm screaming on the top of my lungs and cheering for them and being like the crazy fangirl, a sports bro is like a fangirl of their favorite player. Let's just put it out there. And this entire movement of stars just wanting to buy the Ottawa Senators of all teams is amazing. I love it. It's my favorite thing and is happening right now. It's brilliant.
I'm super jealous.
Yeah,
I know.
Same.
Can we have like Hassel Plattner sell a share of the Sharks and we can get Snoop Dogg over here or something like, or Reynolds, like Ryan Reynolds.
Please.
Have you seen his like Mint Mobile commercials or like his what is it, gin, his Aviator gin or
Yes, it's a
something, whatever
gym.
he sells? They're
Yeah.
so good. We need
He,
something like that in this league.
he he's like so passionate. It's amazing. And Snoop Dogg, I saw his interview with, I don't even know who it was because I can never remember his name. I can remember his face, but I don't know his name. And he gave an interview, and he has like so many really cool plans to create his own like little league for black players, for black kids to play hockey. And I was like, that is so amazing. He's creating a space because we don't have a lot of black players in the league, and hopefully that's going to change, and that would be such a huge step for that change. Like someone like Snoop Dogg, and people don't value him enough because he's such a great human being. I found I he has this really cute kids album that he did a while ago, and it's so cute. It's adorable. It is so cute, and he's like words of affirmation, and I think he would be such a good personality for hockey. Like,
I
he
think
would,
so too.
yeah. I just want them all to unite and create like this huge star group that owns the Ottawa Senators and all of them working together. That would be amazing. That would be so brilliant. Like, stop fighting with each other. Just join forces and change the
I
world,
know.
please.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
It's some I think it'll be much needed for this league where like one of the things Snoop said was how Connor McDavid is the best hockey player in the world, but you don't see him on any commercials like you do other star players for other sports leagues. It's like he made a comment about not knowing how to market these players and like how to grow this game. And so I feel like whether it's him or Ryan Reynolds, I don't know too much about the weekend, but either way it goes, I think it's going to be good, not just for the team, but for the league itself, because whatever they do for their marketing for their team, other teams are going to want to copy it because they're going to see how they're profiting off of it and like growing their game, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And like with Snoop Dogg specifically, because his plans is to grow it to be more diverse. Because again, one of the things he said was like it'll give kids to see that someone like them is in this sport, and at a high level. Because you don't see any black owners or, first black GM just happened this past season with the Sharks. I think it's gonna give like younger kids hope that there's something that they can aspire to within the sport, and not just for black kids. Anytime someone says, "Oh, for black kids," whatever, it's gonna be like all other like what do you call it, cultures and like other people of color. Like it's just how they need to open the floodgates.
Yeah. It just needs to open the door. And when you have something like that happen to the Ottawa Senators, which is not the biggest franchise in the league, and you have like two gigantic stars fighting for them and wanting to make a change in that community, because and then you look at all the other teams in the league, all the other markets that can have that as well. It opens a door for other people to come and participate in the league, because it's like you have the NFL, which is already gigantic. You have the NBA, which has its own magic, and it's a whole different level from the NFL. That is just the NFL, and then you have the NHL, that is just like no one. They're no one in the big scale things, and you look at the famous people that go to games, that talk about the game. There are not many, and the ones that are like in Los Angeles and
Mhm.
with the Rangers, because the Rangers have a famous person in their arena every single day. So it just opens such a big door, because Ottawa is a smaller franchise. It opens such a big door, and they have so many younger players, players that are marketable, players that can be there. You have Brady Kachuk, who has like the biggest personality in the entire league, and no one talks enough about that, about how like crazy amazing he is. Like, personality-wise, there are so many things you can do with him, marketing-wise. And then you have um, Tim, who is a European player and is always happy to participate. When he came into the league, they did so many things with him, but now you don't see that enough. So you get a team like the Florida Panthers that are in the most diverse city in the entire East Coast that has like so many Latinos, and they don't do enough, and it's so frustrating. There's so many things that they can do and they don't. I'm not even a marketing specialist. I'm just a literature teacher, but even I know what you can do with that, and they don't. And yeah, it is a big door.
This conversation can go on and on.
Yeah,
There's just so much to
for
say about
hours.
it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to close out by going through what's currently been announced for the awards finalists and maybe get everybody's takes on who should take home the trophies. So for the Norris, they announced that Adam Fox, Eric Carlson, and Cale Makar are up for the trophy.
I'm biased.
Who's everyone choosing?
I'm
Yeah, I think I'm
biased.
biased too.
Yeah. I would honestly go with Carson. Like, he had such a phenomenal season, and kind of no one saw that coming. Everyone was like, "Okay, is it got?"
Definitely didn't see that coming.
Yeah. And every year, everyone is like, "Is this the season that he's gonna come back to his old self? Is this the season that he's going to be as good as he was back when he got into the league?" And then this was the season, and he had this insane season where he put up points, and he was such a great key player for the Sharks. And then you have Adam Fox for a team like the Rangers. There's the Rangers, and you have Cale Makar on a team like the Colorado Avalanche, the current Stanley Cup champion. Both of those players have been doing their thing ever since they came into the league, and both of them have won the Norris Trophy back to back when you put them both in order. And you look at Eric Carson and you look at his career, you look at everything that he has been through at this season, and you're like, that's his. And if it's not, I will riot. I will actually go on Twitter and be like, you guys are so out of your goddamn mind if you think any of those should deserve more than him. So that's my take.
And he's on a crappy team.
Exactly. I didn't want to say, but as
You can say
have
it. We know.
you have the space to say it.
We give you permission to
Yeah.
to dunk on the Sharks.
Yeah, he's like in a bad team that is going through so much, and he's doing all of that with the team that he is. There's no question that this is his year. And if it's not, that's rigged.
We'll have words to say.
Yeah.
He's gonna have to do it again next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
With the gladiator gif, are you not entertained? Where's my trophy? So for the Calder finalists are Maddie Beniers, Owen Power, and Stuart Skinner.
I am a Owen Power defender. Like, I put my hand
Not
on
surprised.
fire for him as a hockey player. I don't put my hand on fire for anybody, let alone hockey players. But as a hockey player, I put my hand on fire for him. And people were like surprised by that. And as someone who has watched him ever since he was playing for Chicago in his junior years, I am not surprised at all, because he had an amazing season as a defenseman. And everybody knows that as a defenseman, it takes a while for you to develop. On a team like the Buffalo Sabres, he just went in and he played like he was an NHLer already. Like, no transition time whatsoever. He just played like he was a mature defenseman, and it was amazing. So he might not have all the points that everyone had, but he was brilliant for the Sabres. With that said, it's not even years for me. As a Michigan fan, unfortunately, he was brilliant for the Kraken, and I've been rooting for him ever since he came into the league. And it was him, KJ, and Power who came in from the Wolverines. And I was like, Maddie's going to win the Calder out of all the three. Like, I thought it was going to be the three of them, like, in order, but KJ kind of fell down a little bit. But I was like, it's going to be him. It's going to be him, and it's going to be him. Like, Skinner, who's Skinner? Who are the Oilers? Who are the Oilers? Never heard of them. Even if they win the cup, I'm gonna be like, ew.
The shade is coming out.
I don't want
Who
it.
the heck is this McDavid guy?
Yeah.
Never
I
heard
don't
of him.
care.
They should probably market him more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't pay attention to the Sabres, so my vote would have gone to Beniers because I follow the Kraken a bit more and I saw how much he contributed to the team. But I'm also like I have a soft spot for goalies. Like, when was the last time a goalie won a Calder?
Oh, it was a really long time ago, I think. I know that they've been
But
nominated for a while, but to win, I don't know.
yeah, I actually don't follow the Oilers because why would I? So I don't know how well he did.
Who are the Oilers?
No. They're that team with that
You
one.
guys keep bringing up this team that I don't know anything about.
But if I had to choose, I'd probably pick Beniers.
Yeah. And next year, Devin Levi is coming out for the Calder. So that's going to be the goalie that's going to win. I'm calling it here right now. I might jinx him. And if I do, I am so sorry. But he's winning the Calder next year.
Wait, who is?
Devin Levi, the baby goalie for the Sabres. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
He's really good.
Yeah.
He's really good.
He had a couple of really good games I saw.
Yeah. He won
like late in the season.
If I'm not mistaken, he played 8 games and he won 5 out of the 8
Well,
he played.
If Dustin Wolf comes up for the Flames, he'll be in decent competition because he's also a very good goalie.
That would be amazing, though. Like, 2 goalies nominated for the Calder. That would be such a cool thing.
And then they still give it to the forward.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Especially if the dart comes up, like, there's just no chance for anybody else. But
Oh yeah, I forgot about him.
I'm gonna blow out the competition. Yeah.
But
yeah, I didn't know a whole lot about Owen Powers, that I think you make a good case for him, and it goes back to with Eric Carlson being on a terrible team. Well, in comparison to the Kraken and this other team that's named the Oilers, Owen Powers being on the Sabres, I mean, to be productive on a crappy team, I as much as I like Stuart Skinner and personally I like him as a goalie, like, you've got McDavid, you've got Draisaitl, you've got Nurse, you've got all these guys, and obviously, you know, they're in the second round right now, like battling it out with the Knights, and then with Maddie Beniers.
Tell me how you really
jealous.
feel.
Yeah,
Batty Beniers.
Batty Beniers. You know, him being on the Kraken, who are having an insane season. Like, I personally feel like I want to root for the underdog and pick someone like an Owen Powers. But the way that the league is, they'll probably pick Maddie Beniers.
yeah.
I was going to say Batty again.
Yeah, and just to finish my argument about Power is that he played with really bad defense partners. Like, he didn't have a consistent defense partner throughout the year because Yokihiro is his defense partner and he was hurt a lot. And then he was playing with, like, Clegg most of the year. And then Pilot, who came back to the Sabres, God knows why. And it was just, like, so chaotic for him. And Darlene. And he was playing 27 minutes per night as a rookie defenseman on a team like the Sabres. So, yeah, he was pretty amazing. I could talk about him like for an entire episode, so let's move on.
The Selke Trophy finalists are Parise Bergeron, Nico Hischier, and Mitch Marner.
Everyone knows it's gonna go to Bergeron,
Yeah.
so I don't know what to say.
Demonstrated the most skill in the defensive component of the game.
I don't follow any of those three people enough to say. I know that Bergeron continues to be so good, and he might be retiring, and it was a very emotional end of the season for them and all of that. But he was also on the best team of the league with the best campaign of league history. And you have Mitch, who's also in a really good team. And who was the third one again?
Hischier. He's on the Devils.
Hischier, yes. Honestly, that's unfair. Like, all of them are in a really good team. So there's no way to use that argument. But I think Hischier might be a good one, but it's going to go to Bergeron just because. Hasn't he won the Selke like a few years
Every
in a
year
row?
he's been in the league practically.
Just change it to the Bergeron Trophy once he retires and move on with life. But yes, I don't think there's much of a discussion there. Just no need to announce it even. Like don't even put him against anybody else as long as he's there. Just give it to him. And that's it.
I think I'll probably lean towards Nico.
Me too. I don't know. I heard that they never really nominate a winger, so if Marner wins, that'd be cool, but I don't think he will.
Just because it's the Leafs and everyone like mess with them so much, I don't think he would win. And that's unfortunate for him because he's a great player, but yeah, give nothing to the Leafs. My boyfriend is going to listen to this and he's going to yell at me.
What about for the Lady Byng? We have Jack Hughes, who plays for the Devils, Anze Kopitar for the Kings, and then Braden Point for the Lightning. The Lady Byng, it goes to the player adjudged to have exhibited the best type of sportsmanship and gentlemanly conduct combined with a high standard of playing ability. So it usually goes to like...
I don't know a whole lot about points etiquette.
Oh yeah, me neither.
I
mean, Anze Kopitar has always been like the one Kings player that like I've been happy to root for. The rest of them can just go away. But
give it to Hughes.
I think I'll just go with.
Yeah.
I guess.
Just for the vibe.
Just for the vibes.
I think Point is a pretty solid candidate for this award. This season he was a little bit more sassy on the ice than he usually is. So I was kind of surprised that he got the nomination for the Lady Byng. But yeah, just for the vibes, I'm going to go with Point. Just so it's each one of us choosing a different one.
That's pretty much all they've announced so far for the awards.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember. I thought I saw something about possibly Brent Burns is going to be up for a trophy, but I can't remember which category it was.
The Conn Smythe.
Yeah. Okay.
That's interesting.
I haven't been paying attention to the Canes, so...
Me neither. I paid attention to them for 6 games and bye. I don't want to see you anymore.
But speaking of the Canes, though, they're currently down 3 goals to the Devils.
Are they playing right now?
The game is happening. Yeah, I put it up because I was like, oh yeah, the game's going, and I was like, who's up 3-0? I mean, makes sense. The Devils, you know, they did that with the Rangers in the first round. They went down to two games, and
Came back to win the series.
obviously,
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
that
we'll
would be
see what happens from
iconic.
there. But
Please do that. And I said that they were gonna get swept. I have this. I am.
when did you say that? Because we had. Why does her name
Ariel.
escape me?
Ariel.
Yeah, we had Ariel on a couple of weeks ago, and she made a prediction for the Devils that they were going to get swept. And then from that recording on, the Devils.
Yeah.
They came back.
I think she said they weren't gonna come back from the 2-0.
I said that after the game, the second game of the series against the Kings, and now they're coming back. So yes, please. I'm super superstitious, and I said that in my mind, and I was like, okay, so I'm saying this, but I am not manifesting it. I'm manifesting the other one. Let them win. I cannot take. So sorry.
Now that it's happening, it can come out
Exactly.
to the public.
Exactly. So please, Devils, do it. Do it. In 6, please. Just like reverse sweep them. Just go for it. That's my take.
We'll see what happens. So as we close out here, did you want to put out your work into the world? What should folks see from your writing contribution moving forward with Hockey Tomorrow?
Honestly, right now I'm focusing more on helping Tom and Chanel with they promoted me to project manager, so I'm taking care of all the articles and everything. But I am writing the second part of my famous people that are hockey fans because of all this Snoop Dogg, Ryan Reynolds thing. And I will be writing something on the Sabres, on the young guns from the Sabres. So if you're a Sabres fan or you just love one of them, please read. I don't know when it's coming out because my life is crazy, classes and everything. But it is coming out, I promise. And if you are a Latino person and you would like to talk about your experience, please reach out to me on Twitter, Instagram, anywhere, email, whenever you want, because I would really like to hear your experience and write about it on Hockey of Tomorrow. And yeah, thank you so much for welcoming me. I'm so excited because I love the pod. And yeah, thank you for giving me the space to vent about this lovely sport that we all love.
Always.
Yeah.
We love a good vent.
Always. That's what this podcast is about. We just get people on here to vent. It's one giant venting session.
I love it. My favorite part.
Wish we could have gotten some more of that shade early on. You brought out the shade like so far down the line. We could have really gotten into that.
Yeah. Well, maybe another time. Just I don't want to get attacked by anybody. So Oilers fans, sorry. I don't have the mental health to deal with you guys attacking me, so please don't. But yeah, I love bashing on teams. So whenever you guys want me to bash on teams, I'll be here.
Perfect.
Well, that's all that we got for you today. Thank you, Lisa, for coming on to the podcast. And as always, I am your host, Jay.
And I'm Nessa. Thanks for coming on. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.